right, so this is episode 9, but this is something a little bit different because we've got something that we want to announce that we have been working on for months, and it's been years of research, trial and error in the making. We have launched a blueprint. So it's an online program. It's a business called the Focus Forge, and it's going to be an online program that is dedicated to helping you guys find certainty, even if the outcomes aren't there. We're incredibly freaking excited. It's going to be updated every single week. We've been updating it constantly for months, and we're about to launch this dang thing. You want to dive into a little bit more what this thing's going to be about for these guys?
Well, yeah, for starters, I guess we talk about why.
Yeah.
Why number 1, why we did it. Number 2, why the information is why it's so valuable and why we just had to put it out there. We had to share it. Because really for the last 2.5 decades, like this has been my thing, my hobby, right? Going out there and finding out like what is it about certain guys or certain just people in general that their path hasn't been easy. They've had a tough road. In some cases, they've had brutal upbringings, but there's something about those people that they've been able to just rise up out of the ashes and do extraordinary things with their life. And I'm not just talking about athletics, I'm talking about in life. What is it about those people? And then on the other side, because so many of us live lives of quiet desperation, but then also so many who were brought up like in a very blessed situation, man. They had everything. They had family that loved them. They had all the support, financial abundance, yet they're a absolute dumpster fire in life. So what is it about those people? And that's kind of been my obsession almost for at least 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, this has been our thing for a long, long time.
Hmm.
But for the last few years, we've been taking all of that, all of those people that are out on the cutting edge, like we're pipelined into them, we study them. But now we're taking all of that, filtering down those concepts and offering them directly for baseball players, for families of baseball players, because the landscape is just crazy tough. You know
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so freaking fired up about this. I mean, we've been working our asses off on this for so long. And just to give you guys even more detail on it, on why we've learned that the number one thing that the vast majority of players struggle with, whether they're in high school, college, pro ball, it doesn't matter, is we're all used to at some point feeling like the guy, right? Like anytime we take a round of BP, guys are like, "Ooh, man, like shit, he can
Ooh.
bang it." Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you take fungos and you just feel different. You throw it across, you just feel different. You're hitting 3 hole. Like we all are so used to feeling like the man. And then as we level up, as we go to college baseball, show up for our first practice in the fall, and we realize that we're surrounded by a bunch of dudes just like us. And for 99.9% of players, they are just shocked by that. And then what happens after that? They don't have that evidence, they don't have that social proof to feel like the man anymore. And that's something that I struggle with personally, that I had to battle my way through. Um, but that's the point of what we're doing here. That is the entire point of this program. Is it doesn't have to, oops, it doesn't have to be that way. Like you can find certainty, you can find confidence regardless of whether or not you have that social proof or whether or not you have evidence to support that belief. Because at the end of the day, the best players in this game and the best people in life are the ones that, like you said, rise from the ashes and find certainty regardless of what the hell is going on around them. Right. And it's something that is so valuable that unfortunately most people don't have access to or don't know how to tap into.
No, and I actually feel sorry for those folks.
Hmm.
And it's almost everybody, essentially. And I know that kind of sounds arrogant, but just pay attention,
Yeah.
right? I feel bad for people who they don't realize that there's a way through that. There's always a way through that. And I think everybody knows that it's mental toughness, But I think a lot of people just think they either have it or they don't. Like a coach says, "Hey, all right, let's be tough mentally." And they're like, "Okay, boom." And then the second it wears off, they're just like, "Well, maybe I'm just not mentally tough. I'm not that guy." And that's no good because you're right. Baseball is easy when the environment, like number one, the outcomes are good, right? We're a guy and everybody knows it. But even when the outcomes aren't there, the coach still sees you as a dude and you know it. And the guys around you treat you like a dude. They know you're struggling for a minute, but all of that stuff, that's when it's there, it's easy. It's easier to find your way back. But now you're on college campus and nobody thinks you're special. I mean, nobody. And I don't care. You could be a top 10 guy in your state on Perfect Game or PBR. You show up there, you're not special. The coach is giving you no love. If anything, he's chirping and, coming at you. And you've never had that before for most guys. That's a dark place because the offensive work is so tough. Everybody's doing super high velo, machine work. And it's hard to even find an outcome to prove to people that you are good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lonely place.
Yep. Dude, I've been there. Unfortunately. And it's something that until you can find a way to obviously be mindful of your state, learn for starters what the hell state is and how you can use your focus and your physiology to find certainty, right? Which is a big part of the program. But I realized through studying this stuff and through building this that we all look at the game through, different filters, right? Either filters that limit us, keep us feeling like shit, keep us uncertain, keep us anxious, keep us fearful. But then there's a very small percentage of guys that no matter what is going on around them, they view everything through a much stronger, more empowering set of filters, right? That helps them find certainty when they step on campus for the first inter squad or for the first fall, practice taking Fungo as a shortstop. And even though you look like everybody else, everybody's used to being a guy, they have a different set of filters that empower them, that help them find that certainty, that help them find that belief, so that when they take those fungos, they are freaking getting after it. They have no doubt in their mind. They're aggressive, they're cocked up, and then they separate themselves from everybody else. And that is why we've built this thing, is to help you guys get to that point.
Yeah, because most of those guys, if they haven't been introduced to the tools and the concepts that we've been studying for so long, they're getting through on just blind confidence.
Yep.
It's blind confidence. Okay, well, those guys are just fortunate, but we all can't have blind confidence. It's great if you've got it. Now there's, that cuts both ways, because when you've got blind confidence, you're also completely unaware of your shortcomings, which in the game of baseball, I'll take blind confidence all day. But it can also make you completely void of feel and totally unaware. Self-awareness is a good thing.
Yeah.
But those guys just have blind confidence. But 90% of people aren't blessed with blind confidence. The great news, though, is there are ways back to total certainty by a few shifts, right? Just a few simple shifts. And I'm not talking about going on Twitter and listening to some motivational speech. That external, allowing or relying upon external factors to get into state is always going to be problematic. Right. We're not talking, that's motivation, being motivated by someone else. This is something totally separate, totally different. And it can be developed.
Hell yeah.
And that's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah, and this does not apply only to when you step foot on campus in the fall. This can apply to when you're at a perfect game tourney, whether you're at Jupiter or you're at Grand Park for a PBR event or whatever it is, and you're in high school trying to get picked up and find your way to the right college baseball program. That is where you need certainty more than ever. Is when you have guys coming out to see you, to see if they like you, or they're out just watching a game. trying to see if anybody stands out. And unfortunately, if you don't have certainty, if you don't have confidence, if you don't play cocked up and in peak state, a lot of the times you're just going to look like everybody else. And then you go home and you're frustrated. And then you try pressing, trying to do too much next game. And then you just find yourself in freaking no man's land with no certainty. But these tools and these filters, if you can use them, make them readily available and study them through this program, we can help you find that certainty and that belief so that when you step out there, there is zero freaking doubt in your mind, right? You know who you are, you know what you're capable of, and you can go out there and just be freaking bold and play with total freedom.
Yeah, imagine how good that would be. Because
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there. You go to a showcase, or you're playing in front of a group of guys that you're desperate to impress, and you look at like the video that mom or dad takes, or that perfect game or PBR post afterwards, and it's so frustrating because you're so tight, you're so tense. And to me, that sucks because it makes you feel like, God, what a chicken shit I was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that does suck, but there is a way through some shifts to make those performances, you look exactly the same as when you're hanging with your boys and you guys are taking fungos and it's one of those, hey, make a ridiculous play session. Like, that's when guys are best.
Yep.
But unfortunately, nobody can find that, that place, that state where you're just so loose and so freed up. But guess what? It's possible.
baby.
It's absolutely possible.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come a year from the date that you start, doing this thing that we're doing. Like, these tools can work now. Now, it may not stick right now because it takes time
Right.
to develop that discipline to constantly command your body to work for you, to constantly direct your focus, to just leverage your brain, which is the most extraordinary tool you've got. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And this doesn't just apply to kids either. I mean, it's not just to kids, parents.
Parents need it more.
Oh, I know.
They need it more.
I mean, granted, I can't fully speak on that because I'm not a parent, obviously, but I know from talking, since I started this social media journey, I've heard from hundreds, if not thousands, of parents. Because parents tend to have more in-depth questions than players themselves because they're not in it for them, they're in it for their kid, and for that reason right there, that elevates those stakes for them. So they really want to dive into this shit and figure out how they can help them find confidence, right? It's always confidence everybody's looking for. And if you dive into this stuff that we're doing as a parent, at some point it's just going to click for you, right? And you're going to be like, "Oh my gosh. Okay, that's it. That's it." So then not only can you, enforce it for yourself, learning how to use your body and redirect your focus to make shit bearable when you're watching your kid play at a PBR event, but you also can reinforce these tools and these, strategies and these filters for your kid when he's done playing, right before a game, heading to the field, when you talk to him on the phone, when your boy's at college, right? Because these tools, I mean, they've helped you for years. You and my mom are two of the most kick-ass people I know. You've started very, very successful businesses, and you came from, a pretty tough childhood, and it's just kind of, it just fires me up, man, because I know what it's like to see these tools and these principles in action from you guys. And I finally figured it out towards the end of my career to where I could implement them, and I'm implementing them now in my post baseball career life. It's just valuable for anybody who's looking to find certainty.
Yeah, no, that's spot on, because there's no greater gift we can give our kids than to set them up with a view of the world, with a set of filters that allows them to just attack life. And unfortunately, there's a reason why poverty seems to be passed down from generation to generation, just like wealth seems to. And my view on that, when I still had a very limited outlook on what I could be or do or have, I just thought, well, yeah, they inherited that money, right? I mean, that's what happened. I mean, you've got money because you inherited it. What I've come to realize is that ain't it. And yes, that happens in some cases, but it's the mindset that is passed on from people who are elite in business. Their kids tend to have the same filters, and it's just about limitations. I mean, limitations are passed on, and they become the beliefs that guide us. And so when we experience failure, whether it's in baseball or in anything, those beliefs then dictate where we go from there. And it ultimately determines how we feel. And our career is going to come down 100% by how we feel most of the time. That's the quality of our career is going to be dictated by how we feel most of the time. And most of us have these very fearful, limiting beliefs that we're not even aware of, that have us feeling small, scared, afraid. So we're constantly going through the game or through life or in trying to connect with people socially, like with the safety on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a way of taking that safety off. I had to go out there and find that information.
Yeah.
Because I did have a very limited, I wasn't limited in what I thought I could be or do athletically, but in terms of career and like financial success, oh man.
Yeah.
I was as limited as anybody.
Yeah.
But there's a way out.
And that's what's so exciting about this is because the way we've structured this program is that it is formatted to where we are forcing these guys to do an honest self evaluation, right? You sit with your parents or by yourself and you dive in, look inwards, and you figure out what's going on up here and you put it to paper and you write it down. You're like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I think might be holding me back. It's obviously a lot deeper than that, but it forces them to really get to the root of how they feel and what limitations dictate how they feel, and with this program, we've formatted it and structured it in a way to where they have no option but to be completely freaking honest with themselves and say, all right, from here on out, I'm leaving that dude behind. It's done. I'm not going back to buying into all that bullshit. I'm not going back to playing with fear. I'm going to make a decision right now to be that dude who is tapping into the most potential I possibly can and just play with total freedom.
Yeah, and I think most people when they hear that, okay, so I've got limiting beliefs, they think, oh, getting a belief identified and then changing it is like, man, that's going to take forever. No, we can absolutely destroy a belief and adopt a new one as long as we've got strong enough reasons why. Our reasons why become everything. So we walk you through that process of figuring out what's going on back there, picking those things out, putting them on paper, and then, oh, by the way, here are better beliefs, better filters, and you can take one and plug it into the other. And we walk you through that process by getting strong on why I have to. And the best way, and just to kind of give you an overview, the best way to do that is, okay, so I've got these beliefs that make me play timid. I'm now on a campus where there's 6 guys at my spot, and I'm just one of the guys here. What is my career going to look like in the spring if I continue to play with the safety on and be afraid? What's it going to look like a year from now? And I'm not talking about just imagine it. I'm talking feel it. Feel yourself washing out of the game. 2 years, 5 years, depending upon, how old you are and how much time you've got left in the game. That'll provide some pain, which there's no greater tool than pain if you know how to use it, right? and harness it. But then on the other side of that, what's it going to be like this spring after I've completely taken the safety off? And these people see what my game really is when I'm freed up and flowing. That's enough leverage. And we walk you through that, man. And I can't wait.
I know.
I'm excited.
And this is not just some online program that what you see is what you get, right? We have been updating this for months, putting a bunch of content in there for this initial launch, but then we are updating that thing all the time because we have so much content to film. We have content already filmed. We've got stuff that we are constantly cycling down, filtering through to give to these guys in a baseball specific, sports specific context, right? So it's going to be something new left and right? And it's not just going to be you read it or you watch it, you take notes and you're good. Like we're going to have you commenting on this stuff. We're going to be like monitoring you guys, feel like seeing where you're at, seeing what stuff makes sense. If you need some more, understanding on a concept, we're going to dive right into it. We will be monitoring this damn thing nonstop. And it's something that so our goal for that is to completely change the overall landscape of the game and kind of get it back to where it was in a way, kind of like when you played, where it was just dick in the dirt baseball, play with total freedom, look to freaking bite the other guy's head off to win. Because right now, there has never been a more important time to play like that and to have that bite. And unfortunately, most guys don't have that bite right now.
No. Well, one of the philosophies that I hold very, very tightly, I believe in it, is we become the average of the 5 people that we associate with most. And that's scary as hell for a lot of people. And they look at those 5 people. Like we're going to become pretty much like the average of that. Well, where else are you paying attention? Like what are you plugging into? For most people, it's social media, right? And the algorithm is fuel, just feeding you more of what you crave. For some people, that's helpful. For most people, it's not. If you plug into this, if you join this community, it's going to be the resource that we're going to become one of the 5 people you associate with most.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to plug in, and we're engaged in this thing. Like Billy said, we're not just posting that thing and you're on your own. We're in it. We're engaging in it, constantly plugged in, responding to people. It's going to be a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue with us and amongst the people in it. But through that, if you're able to commit and engage with us, with this group, now the people that you're associating with most, they're going to find themselves getting pulled up with you.
Yep.
Your certainty, your ability to navigate through the bullshit, back to freedom, back to total just fearlessness out there. That's how leaders are made. And leaders, they're not born, they're made.
Right.
Through certainty.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go, man.
I know.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah. This has been a lot of freaking work leading up to this. I started posting on social media almost a year ago now. And I told myself right when I started that I was going to post every single day for as long as I could, right? And just kind of see where it took me. Because this whole thing started when I had my second spine surgery, and I thought that I would just start posting some threads on Twitter, trying to help guys out based on my own past experiences, right? And it took off for a little bit, and then I started playing again, shut it down. But I thought to myself, okay, if I can, step out of my comfort zone, find certainty to get my ass in front of a camera and start helping these guys and just completely open myself, be totally vulnerable, honest with where I was, where I got to. Not only would I open myself up to a shit ton of hate, but I would also hopefully help at least one guy along the way, right? That was my entire goal. I told you when I was propping up my phone against my dog's kennel in my house with no camera, with no microphone, nothing. And it's unbelievable to see where it's taken off to. I'm incredibly grateful for it. And this podcast. I've grown so much through this podcast. It's it's so fun doing this with you, and for us to be able to finally just launch this thing and put it out for these guys and see how much and see where it takes them, see how much it elevates them, parents too. It's just, I don't know, it's lit a fire under us for a long time, and for it to finally be to the point to where we're letting it out there is a pretty damn cool feeling.
Yeah, and to me, it's watching you. Like you were the embodiment of all of these principles, right? I mean, I've had this stuff going on, and these have been guiding me for a long time. But watching you, since you made a decision, and most people make decisions like, okay, I'm going to do this until it gets a little bit hard or a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, then I'm going to decide to do something else. When you decide, you decide. You cut off or kill any other possible outcome. And that's what you've done with this. And it's been a pleasure to sit back and watch it. Truly.
Appreciate it.
It's been an amazing thing to see. It really has.
Thank you. And we're just going to keep getting better with it. Podcast, we're going to keep up with the podcast every week. We're going to be updating to the program, finding ways to improve that nonstop. Going to be, like we said, diving into it with these guys and their parents, whoever decides that they want to join the community. And we're just going to keep this thing rolling. So where you can find it, let's just start by saying that real quick. I'm going to put a link in the description of this. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, you can head to social media handles at Finding Belief on Instagram and TikTok, or you can just shoot us a message wherever. But it's the focusforge.org, and we're going to have these links down below. We're going to be plugging it in, announcing it on social media here very soon. And we're just going to get this damn thing rolling, man. So you got anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, there's two things.
Okay.
These are the two things that we require from you people.
Yep.
One, desire. I'm talking about a white hot desire to be more, to do more, to have more. So that's one. Number two is commitment. The commitment to engage in this thing every day, to do the exercises, because it's super easy not to. Do the exercises.
Yep.
And make this a part. You plug into this thing every day. In order for this thing to really stick, you have to engage. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. And what you see when you first enroll, I mean, we've got a fantastic foundation down there. But as Billy said earlier, we're constantly out there gathering content, out on the cutting edge of like performance and mindset and how all of that is built. We're out there on the cutting edge gathering these things, filtering them down into a baseball context and posting them right there. It's a resource. It's going to be evolving, growing, but with total engagement on our part, we're making that commitment to you guys, to the site, and to all of you to engage with you. But you've got to, man, you got to lock in.
Yeah.
So those two things: desire to be, to do, to have more, and a commitment. Make a decision.
That's important, because ultimately this isn't what you've been seeing on social media, even with my short form content, where it's a minute long video, a simple thing you can implement into your life, into your career on the field, whatever. That's not what this is. We've been giving out even on this podcast and through, socials, the what to do and why you should do it. But this program is the how. Okay. And it's just like anything worth doing. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes commitment. And ultimately, if you're one of those guys to where, you kind of start some stuff and then stop it, when it gets tough, or you're tired, or you just don't feel like it, then we strongly encourage you to not dive into the program, because we are committing to this shit. We are bought in. We've burnt the boats, man. There is no way out of this. We are going for it all the way. But we expect the same thing from you guys in return. And all of us are capable of doing that. But whether or not you're at that point in your life is pretty damn important because, like you said, you will get out of it what you put into it. And we are putting in everything. So we expect that in return from you guys. So,
Yeah. And one other thing I'll add to that, if you're one of those guys who starts and stops, if that's who you've been, there's a lot of psychology behind that. There are strong reasons why you've been that way. Even if you have been that way, your past does not have to equal your future. You can make a decision now.
that's important.
So
Yeah.
if you can get white hot on, hey, that isn't me. I know that's what I've done, but man, fuck that. I don't want that anymore. Okay. Then join us.
Perfect.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree with
Oh,
that?
1000%. Because we've all been that guy at some point to where we don't commit to it, to where we say we're going to do this. We say that we're going to wake up early in the morning and we don't. We've all been there. But then we flip that switch. We're like, you know what? I'm leaving that guy behind. And if you're making that decision right now, when it comes to joining this membership and this site and this community, then it'll make an even greater impact on you than it would otherwise. So yes, I'm very happy that you plugged that piece in there.
Yeah. And if you're struggling now, good. You don't have to be a monster to be in this thing. If you're in a bad way, good. Because I'm telling you, you're so close. All of that with the right shift, just a little bit of a shift, all that pain that you've been feeling can be the greatest asset, the greatest gift you've ever been given.
Yep.
So don't be afraid. You don't have to be a monster to come and do this. If you're struggling, good. Now's the time.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.